everyone. Hello and welcome in. Thank you for joining me on this wonderful Wednesday afternoon. And of course, Wednesday means it is time to continue our weekly NFL Pickem series as we enter week 6 of NFL action. The whiteboard has returned for the second day this week, and if you're familiar with this process, this is where I indicate where I'm making my selections in head-to-head contests. Remember, this is not against the spread. I'm not dealing with points. This is just me picking who I believe is going to be victorious in their matchup on NFL Sunday, Saturday, Thursday. I've lost track of how many days we actually have NFL games. And this will be the second straight week with a London game at 9:30 in the morning, which makes it inconvenient for us fantasy football players because you better remember to set your lineups, make your daily selections, make your survival picks, because that game comes early, especially if you're on the East Coast like I am. Well, Eastern Standard Time, if you will. But before we get into making selections today, I do want to do a quick recap of how last week went and where I stand so far this season. So last week was my best week so far picking games. Finished with a 12-4 record for week 5. That brings me to an overall on the season of a very healthy 51-29. This is one of my better starts since I've been doing this for a few years. So I don't think I can capture that magic once again, but we're going to try to do that this week. Teams I picked correctly were the Rams, Falcons, Packers, Vikings, Steelers, Bucks, Titans, Patriots, Chargers, Cowboys, Cardinals, and Ravens. The teams I picked incorrectly were the football team, the Panthers, the Raiders, and the Chiefs. But, who saw any of that coming? So, here we are, week 6, and of course, if you're new here, I will be making my selections with team pennants up here on the board to indicate who it is I have winning. So you can follow along as I talk about each game, and of course let me know in the comments, how does your selections match up with mine? What would you change? And who are your upsets, if you will? Always interested to know what you guys are thinking on the same topic. So let's begin with Thursday Night Football starting tomorrow, which will kick off week 6 officially. We've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, so far this season, my mantra has been do not bet against Tom Brady, because you did it a bunch in the past and it didn't work out. So I see no reason to discontinue that thought process. Tom Brady is having a great start to the season. He currently leads the league in passing yards. I understand the Buccaneers are a little bit banged up on defense. There was a bunch of players that are going to be announced, that were just announced that they're going to be out today, including Antoine Winfield Jr. and one of their linebackers. I forget who it was. So they're going to be a little tested on defense, and we'll see how they respond to that. I think it's going to be a good game for the Eagles. I think Jalen Hurts will find Devontae Smith quite a bit in this contest, so much so that I'm going to be starting Devontae Smith in fantasy. But for the IRL, I'm going to go with the Buccaneers to win this game on Thursday Night Football. Next, we have the Dolphins and the Jaguars. Sorry, London, we just keep sending you our worst. All right, so the Dolphins have been very poor without Tua Tagovailoa, and Jacoby Brissett, who has been a good backup quarterback in the past, is just not getting the job done this time. He's played rather poorly. The Jaguars have the Urban Meyer off-the-field stuff to deal with, so I don't really know what to expect from them, but I'm going to go out on a limb, and for the first time this year, I'm going to predict a Jacksonville Jaguars victory, and I'm going to assume that that's going to start some trouble in Miami, because I think that pushes them down to 1-5 on the season, and then losing to a team that doesn't have any wins this late in the year is always bad. I think Tua Tagovailoa is designated to return from IR, so it sounds like he's going to play this week. He should be practicing today, which is good news for that offense. The problem is I just don't think the team is good this year, and I can't really pinpoint to what is causing it. So I'm going to go with the Jaguars this week on hunch. Next, we have an NFC North matchup between the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. It looks like Justin Fields is going to continue to be the starter despite just being in a very, very bad offense this year. It is not good, and Matt Nagy is just inching closer and closer to the unemployment line. As far as the Packers go, they had a overtime festival with the Cincinnati Bengals last week where Mason Crosby was involved in that amazing day of kickers missing all kinds of kicks and extra points and what have you. But they were able to sneak out a win, and I'm going to assume that they get that corrected, and the Green Bay Packers are going to be victorious this week over the Bears, and that's going to knock the Bears down just a little bit, enough for the Vikings to catch them for second place in the division. Next, we have the Bengals and the Lions. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to keep picking the Lions until they win one because I feel like it's coming. I just do. The Bengals are obviously a tough opponent, but the Lions are going to have home field advantage. If that fan base in attendance isn't as motivated as the players on the field are under Dan Campbell, I don't know what team you're watching, because despite being 0-5 and being just devastated by injury left and right on this roster, I think Dan Campbell has a winning mentality. It just hasn't happened yet, and I think it's coming, as he said in his post-game press conference following last week's loss to the Vikings. So I'm going to say the Lions get their first W of the season. Next, we have the Texans and Colts, an AFC South matchup that I couldn't care less about, but here we are. We do have to pick the game. The Colts just suffered a dagger of a comeback against the Ravens, where Lamar Jackson put the team on his shoulders in the fourth quarter and said, "Hey, we're winning this football game." And there was some, I think there was a blocked field goal there towards the end. So I'm going to say that unfortunate series of events is going to end with that week, and they're going to rebound against the Texans team that is proving that it is not just going to go away quietly. Davis Mills actually had a good game last week against the Patriots, but I think the Colts are good enough with Jonathan Taylor and that stable of running backs to get the W against Houston at home. Next, moving on, we have the Rams and the Giants. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. I believe the Rams are going to take care of business. Saquon Barkley had the rolled ankle. He's likely out. Daniel Jones suffers the concussion where he's walking around like he doesn't know where he is, and thank God the I think it was Jaron Curse on the Cowboys noticed it and went over to help him make sure he didn't fall down. So they say Daniel Jones is going to play. I really think that they shouldn't do that. I think that they should just put in Mike Glennon, and I'm not saying throw the game, but just do the best that you can. Either way, I'm going to chalk this one up to the Rams just being the more talented and ready-to-go team despite the injury to Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. Next, we have the Kansas City Chiefs and the Washington football team. Kansas City Chiefs find themselves in unfamiliar territory. They have a really bad defense. They're 2-3 so far on the season. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to go to IR, I believe. He is currently injured. But I think that the Chiefs are too good to have a slide like they've been having continue. So I think that they're going to win this game. I'm going to have them go to 3-3 on the season over the Washington football team. Next, we have the Vikings and the Panthers, and despite everything that we've talked about so far this week, I'm still optimistic, as I said in my previous video, that the Vikings can win this game. I think Mike Zimmer is going to teach Sam Darnold a thing or two. The Carolina Panthers have definitely cooled off after their 3-0 start. They were the first team to 3-0, if you remember. And now they're facing more difficult opponents. The schedule's getting a little bit harder. And as of this recording, Matt Rule says that Christian McCaffrey's availability right now is 50-50. He wouldn't bet either way, so we might not even see him this Sunday. So I'm going to go with the Vikings. I'm going to say that the Vikings push it to 3-3 entering the bye week. Next, we have the Chargers and the Ravens. I originally went one way with this game, and then right before I recorded this video, I decided to change it because Lamar Jackson is just having an MVP season. I mean, we have to acknowledge that right now. I think he should be, if not already, the front runner for the MVP award because of what he has done so far in the field. I mean, through the air and on the ground. Chargers are a really good football team. I think they got away with one against Cleveland. Maybe some calls go differently. Maybe they find themselves in a different situation today. I'm going to say the Ravens win that game, in which should be a very thrilling playoff preview for the AFC. Next, we have the Cardinals and the Browns. This is a similar situation where the Browns played a really tough game, and maybe something goes differently. They come out with a victory. Now you face the Cardinals, the only undefeated team remaining in the league. Everything that happens eventually comes to an end. So the Cardinals are obviously not going to go undefeated. They're going to lose some games eventually. So I'm going to say that they do. I'm going to say that they don't. I'm going to say that they don't this week, and I probably shouldn't. You know what? Screw it. Where's the rest of my... Hold on a second. We're going to do a Peyton Manning audible, and we're going to make a change because the Cardinals' winning ways have to end eventually because it's the hot hand fallacy. You know, something that keeps happening isn't always going to continue to happen on into the future. Eventually, there's going to be a change, and something's going to regress to the mean. The Cardinals are a really good football team. I think that they're definitely going to win their division. They'll be a high seed in the playoffs, but eventually they have to lose, and we have to start figuring out where those losses come from. So I'm going to make a change. I had them originally, but I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns to be their first loss of the season. Next, we have the Broncos and the Raiders. The Raiders have all kinds of public relations issues going on right now. I'm not really going to get into that. You already know what it is. No reason for me to really talk about it. Given the fact that they are coming off a loss last week, and then they have all of these distractions, I'm going to say that they're not in the right headspace to take on a division rival. I'm going to give this one to the Denver Broncos. And Denver Broncos will get back to winning after a loss last week. Next, we have the Cowboys and the Patriots. I can't really figure out the Patriots this year. I'm going to go with the Cowboys on this one because Dak Prescott has this team playing really well. The emergence of Dalton Schultz this year is just kind of a wild thing. It's one of those, maybe he's this year's Robert Tonyan. I'm not sure. But I'm going to go with the Cowboys for the win there. Next, we have the Steelers and the Seahawks. Russell Wilson breaks his finger last week. He's likely out for a month, maybe more. So we're going to see Geno Smith and company for a good chunk of the season, which is interesting because, you know, he played okay and coming in to replace Wilson after he got hurt, and he's got good weapons, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. Maybe he can't take advantage of Tyler Lockett's specific skill set, which is stretching the field, so we'll see how that adapts. But I'm going to go with the Steelers here. Despite Ben Roethlisberger and my criticism of him of having a dead arm, I think the Steelers can still manage to win football games, so I'm going to go with that over the Geno Smith-led Seahawks. And then for the conclusion of the week, the last game of Week 6, we have the Buffalo Bills and the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans are struggling this year. A.J. Brown is not the player who we thought he was, apparently. Maybe there's something going on. So everything runs through Derrick Henry. Julio Jones isn't resurrecting his career in a new environment. They've lost to the New York Jets. That hurts. The Buffalo Bills are on fire right now. They just beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They've got one of the best offenses in football. I'm going to go with the Bills. Hard to pick against them in this divisional matchup. So those are my picks. We made an audible in the middle of the video. I've never done that before. And that is my selection, group of selections, if you will, for Week 6 of the NFL action. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.